Well, wait up. This is actually take four of trying to make this video. And every time I try to make this video, and I just talk about random crap, and then all of a sudden I see the video is like a half an hour long, and I didn't want to make a huge ass video talking about crap stuff and every controller in the world. The point of this video is, was the DualShock controller really that good compared to the GameCube and the Xbox? I actually have two Xbox controllers in my hand, the GameCube and Xbox. So the story is, when I was a kid and an early teenager, I was a massive PlayStation fanboy. I am a very loyal guy. So I am loyal to people, but I'm also loyal to brands. I know, really fucking stupid. But as a kid, I was Sony, 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 Sony's the best, Sony's the best, Sony's the best. There's nothing that can touch them, and to be honest, there is nothing that can touch the PS1 or PS2. But in terms of controllers, was this controller really that good? I always laughed at the really tiny little GameCube controller with this little tiny yellow stick. I still laugh at it. It's a horrible, horrible stick. And I always really laughed about the huge ass Duke Xbox controller, never knowing that there was a slim version of this controller. I never knew that because I was an idiot. And I only thought to myself, who the hell wants to play on this huge ass controller? This heavy ass, wait a minute, it's actually not that heavy. Hey, wait a minute, it actually fits my hand pretty well. Holy shit, these triggers are so good to trigger, to press. It's probably a game changer if you play. You know what? Let's play Time Splitters 2, one of my favorite shooters, my favorite shooter of all time. Let's go and play it on Xbox. Holy damn, it's actually way better than on PS2 because I'm actually playing Time Splitters quite a bit on the original Xbox at the moment, trying to unlock all the stuff, unlock all the characters, and I'm playing Battle Engine Aquila on the Halo killer on the Xbox, and it's not bad. It's actually a pretty nice looking game, and I am amazed at how many units they put on screen, and it does feel like you're like inside the battlefield. But these triggers are game changing if you play shooters by far. If you were a kid in the sixth generation of consoles, and your mom or dad are like, what do you want for Christmas or for your birthday? You can get any console you want, and you love shooters, Xbox. No question about it, Xbox. Just, in that regard, if you're a shooter fan and you ask the question, was DualShock controller really that good? No, it wasn't. If you play shooters, Xbox. Period. End of discussion. So it's actually really lightweight. It's not that heavy at all. It feels very sturdy in my hand. It feels like I can sort of it feels like the old Nokia phone where it's indestructible. It's not indestructible, but it just feels like indestructible compared to the PS2 controller because that controller feels very cheap. Triggers are amazing. The buttons, they feel so nice to press, and they don't feel worn out. This controller, sadly, is broken. Maybe I can fix it one day. I think it still does work though, but the whole cable is broken. And the sticks are nice. They're fine. The whole placements of the sticks, to me, still feels weird, to be honest. The D-pad sucks. The D-pad is so bad. But overall, it's not a bad controller. It's not a bad controller at all. It's definitely, the buttons are way better. The build quality is way better. The triggers are mind-blowingly better, like miles ahead of Sony. Even the PS4 and PS5 controller don't have these amazing triggers, to be completely honest. So, Xbox is already beating the PS2 in many fronts. And then we have the Nintendo GameCube now. A couple of months ago, I finally got the GameCube. But compared to the Xbox that I really haven't really played on my childhood, I did play quite a few with the Nintendo GameCube because a friend of mine, he had a Nintendo GameCube, and we played a lot of Super Smash Bros. Melee, Mario Kart Double Dash, and Fantasy Star Universe 1 and 2. Fantasy Star Online 1 and 2. Fantasy Star Universe is on PS2 and I think Xbox 360, if I remember correctly. So the triggers are way better than on DualShock. And there is the Xbox, by the way, doesn't have L1 and R1. That's weird. This one has like a really weird, I think it's called Z button. It's weird. It's not nice to press. However, the buttons itself, they do feel nice to press. They're very sturdy, well-built quality. The trigger. The stick is nice, but I don't know how you. Is it a hexagon? Is this called like a hexagon? I think it's called a hexagon. It's weird. I don't know why they did it. It's weird, but it's fine, right? It's fine. I played a couple of GameCube games, and it doesn't sort of take away the sensitiveness of playing the game, if I said that correctly. This stick, though, is weird as fuck. It's stupid. It's tiny. I don't know why they did it. I don't know why they just used the same stick. I hate this stick. Does it do the job it needs to do? Yeah, sure, but it's weird as fuck. The D-pad is horrible. It's horrible D-pad. You don't want to play fighting games on the GameCube, period. Or of course, stuff like Soul Calibur that you really need to use the stick. But if you have like something like Street Fighter, you don't want to play it on the GameCube, period. The GameCube fits my hand so well. It feels so nice to hold this controller in my hand. I understand why even today gamers want to use this controller over all their modern controllers that we have. And the modern controllers, by the way, are actually not that good. I can understand it, besides, of course, playing fighting games like Street Fighter. Overall, it's a really good controller. It has really good buttons, but the sticks are horrible. D-pad is horrible, and it's a really well-built controller. I really, really like using the GameCube controller. And then we have the king of the hill. I guess he's still on his throne, at least up until now. The L2 and R2 are just buttons, and they feel cheap. They feel so cheap. They feel, and they've always felt very cheap. They feel like, they're gonna fall off. They're gonna break. They don't break. They don't break. I'm just gonna say it feels like they're breaking. The L1, R1, well, it's the only one that has L1, R1. They're fine. They're good. Every PlayStation controller, L1, R1 are good. They're fine. They're nice. They're not perfect. They're just okay. The D-pad by far is not super good, but it's way better than Xbox or GameCube. Way, 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 way better. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've actually talked about the Xbox Slim version, to be honest. It's kind of the same, to be honest, with the Duke controller. It feels really sturdy, high premium quality, triggers are amazing. It feels way better to hold in my hands and to play with than the Xbox Duke controller. Everything else is exactly the same, with D-pad sucks, whatever. So L2 and R2 are bad. The sticks, to me, is just the best. Better than Xbox or GameCube, especially better than GameCube. To me, it's way more natural to play like this. They feel nice. The buttons, by the way, they feel worn out. They're not worn out. They just, compared to the GameCube and Xbox, you have like bigger buttons and you have more of a feeling you're pressing something. Here it's like I'm fearful that if I press too hard, I'm gonna press through the case of the controller. It's not gonna happen, but I just feel like that. It feels cheap. That's kind of the word that I would describe the DualShock controller. They feel cheap. The D-pad is the best. It's not super good, but it's the best. And overall, holding this controller still feels, because I still use the controller a shit ton, feels natural. Feels like, okay, it's a good controller. This is the controller I used in my childhood and teenage years. It's a good controller. It's nothing bad. Compared to the PS3 controller, though, that's one of the worst controllers ever. They have this little, I don't know what you call this, little rig, little mountain, but it's so comfy. My fingers fit in there perfectly. So with that being said, was the DualShock 2 controller really that good? Yes, because it still is an extremely good and comfortable controller to use. But no, it does feel very cheap. I feel like if I use a little bit of force, it's going to break. And it does, because I broke a lot of PS2 controllers back in the day. Nothing to be proud of. If you have anger issues, just lay the controller down, calm down and then put the controller back. Don't break it. It costs so much money, especially nowadays. Don't break controllers. But I understand when it happens. I've done it many times. But it's a really cheap controller, and I understand it. I think I do understand it. Sony made so much money with controllers, and Sony was such a giant. Their market share was like we've never seen before, and we will never see ever again. Even the Nintendo Switch doesn't have as much market share as the PS2 had over the Xbox and GameCube. So they didn't. I think they just didn't give a shit. They're like, hey, this is like a jack of all trades, where the game controller has some good things and some bad things. The Xbox controller has more good things than bad things, but they still have a horrible D-pad. This is like a jack of all trades. But as I mentioned earlier on, if you love shooters, Xbox. No question about it. The best controller ever, Xbox. You don't playing shooter on this controller is fine. It's just nothing really that special. But again, is a DualShock controller really that good? Was it really that good? Yes and no. Now, if you actually want to talk about my two favorite controllers of all time, the controllers that I believe are the best are the 360 controller. It fits perfectly in my hand. It feels perfect. The triggers are a little bit less than the original Xbox. There's L1, R1, and they feel way better to click actually than the PS2 controllers or PS3 controllers or PS4 even. The sticks are nice. Again, I like this more. The D-pad sucks. The D-pad is horrible. Absolutely horrible. Again, the buttons are nice. This is just such a good controller. To be really honest, if I would have the same mindset that I have now, I would have bought the 360 and PS3, and I would have used the 360 to play every multi-platform game, and I would have used the PS3 to play exclusives. That would just be the truth if I had the same mindset. The PS3 controller, besides the Joy-Con, is the worst controller that I have in my possession. I think that my favorite controller of all time and near perfect is the PS4 controller. The only thing is, again, if they would have the Xbox original triggers, this would have been a perfect controller. The buttons, they're a little bit better, but they still feel a little bit worn out. They're not worn out, but they feel a little bit worn out. But the triggers are better. The L1, R1 are better than the DualShock controller. The D-pad is perfect. Absolutely perfection, this D-pad. And the size, the weight, everything this is the perfect controller to hold. Perfect. And they fucked it up with the DualSense controller. It's too big for me. Every time I use the DualSense controller playing on PS5, I'm thinking, why? Why did they change it? Why not use the PS4 controller? It was so much better. It's too big. I don't know why. So that's it. Leave in the comments below, what is your favorite controller of all time? And especially, the sixth generation of consoles, GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. What was your sort of favorite controller to use? Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And like always, you're going to see me next time. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to make this video for quite a while, and I finally could talk about the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 in the same video, finally. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.